someone drew a line, and it was black down to the. Okay.
Put this program together, I'm looking at the sunrise, sunset times, and I'm like, oh, okay, sunset's at 8:30. Everyone gets there at 8 o'clock. We'll be good to go at 8:30, but it's still kind of light. But there's a couple things we're going to do before we actually start catching fireflies. Everyone's going to have a little science lesson. We're going to learn a little bit about insects. And as it gets a little bit darker, the fireflies will first start coming out in the areas that are darker, out back. If you go underneath the trees and some of the shadier spots, you'll
Firefly Roundup.
All right, we'll get started. If everyone wants to take a seat, I'm going to pass out nets. We're going to get everyone set up with official firefly catching equipment. All right. All right, well, welcome to the Trumbull Nature and Art Center. My name is Mark Sineri, Ranger Mark. A lot of you may know me as if I've been in your classroom before. Thanks for coming out today. We thought this might be a nice way to celebrate the start of summer. We have a nice warm night and school's officially done, right? Yeah. Yeah? All right, that's awesome. Everyone's excited that summer vacation's finally here? Yeah. I know when I was your age, I used to have a calendar. You put big black X's during the month of June and just count down to the last day of school, so it was always kind of exciting. All right, so as far as fireflies go, I'm sure a lot of the adults, and some of the kids too, but they're a lot younger, you might all have good memories of catching fireflies. I know I have a lot of good memories of catching fireflies. When I was a kid, spent lots of nights in the summertime. June and July is usually the peak when they're the most active, going outside, just catching fireflies and running around. It was always a fun thing. And it's great because fireflies don't bite, they don't sting, and they're not too creepy, so it's always fun to catch something like that. It makes the experience a lot nicer. I can remember I've always kind of been interested in obviously plants and animals and insects and wildlife. But I can remember one time I was in Ohio. I was in Cincinnati, Ohio, and it was just around the 4th of July, and I was just outside of town on the border of some farmland. There were cornfields and barns and farms and rivers and streams, really pretty. Something must have been right for them. It must have been a good spot for them. So what we're going to do is I'm going to talk a little bit about fireflies just so you can learn a little bit about them and kind of maybe appreciate them a little bit more. Then I'm going to make you all listen to a story that I'm going to tell you about fireflies. And then hopefully by that point it'll be a little bit darker and we'll be able to go out. Actually not flies, they are beetles. Okay, they belong to a family of insects called Lampyridae. And they're not beetles like a Japanese beetle. They don't have that really hard, prickly shell. They're much softer. They're much more delicate. I have some pictures. But they're not so terrible looking. They're pretty small, usually like less than a half an inch, very skinny. All right. You should see the fireflies around here, and there are, obviously the one thing that stands out so much about a firefly is their bioluminescence, the fact that they can create their own light, that they can glow. And we're going to talk more about that when it's dark because I have some interesting things that we're actually going to be working on, light the path in front of them. So they're really interesting. There are over 1,900 different types of fireflies in the world. They're very common. Most of them live in tropical South America and in tropical Asia. All right, and the ones that we have here in the eastern United States go all the way up into Canada, all the way down to the Gulf Coast, and west to Kansas. They're not found west of Kansas, and we're not exactly sure why they're not found west of Kansas. There's still a lot that we don't know about fireflies, even though there is habitat that's very suitable for them and it mimics the conditions that we have here. For some reason, they're never found west of Kansas, so it's kind of one of those mysteries. So fireflies are very active this time of year. You see the adults flying around and flashing their lights. Just in the past couple weeks, they started coming out. It's a very slow progression. You might see one little flash, and then on a warmer night, you might see a couple more. Now the trees are lit up at night with fireflies. And they are, unfortunately, like so many other plants and animals and insects, on the decline. You might look around and say, gosh, there's still so many fireflies. You know, I find it hard to believe that, you know, their numbers are declining, but they're being eliminated quickly for a couple of reasons. Increased pesticide use, which is a problem for so many different things. Loss of habitat, which is the #1 reason why we're losing so many different species of animals around the world. It's a #1 cause, just no place left for them to go. And another big influence on fireflies is light pollution. Fireflies find each other in the dark by flashing their light and communicating. That's how they find one another. When there is a lot of humans around, we fill the night sky with lights from our houses, our roads, our highways, our cars, our shopping malls. They get confused. It interferes with their communication. They can't find each other. They can't mate. There's no baby fireflies, and then there are no other fireflies. So they are on a very quick, rapid decline. So enjoy them. Enjoy them while there are a lot of them, because there may not be quite as many when you're all grown up, for the kids anyway. So remember the nights that you can go out catching fireflies. The other thing that's interesting about fireflies is, for the adult fireflies, we still actually don't know what they eat, which is amazing because there are so many around. You think it'd be very easy to figure out what they feed on, but there are virtually no known accounts of somebody witnessing an adult firefly feeding. We suspect that they feed on pollen and nectar, and some of them we think might be predaceous and eat other insects. We do know that some female fireflies, after they have mated, this is a very interesting trick, they will mimic the flash pattern of one that has not mated, and when the male comes, she will often eat him as a meal. But she's very clever to make sure she's already mated. So, but the other ones we're just not quite certain. We're not quite certain what they feed on. We know a lot more about baby fireflies. Does anyone know what we call baby fireflies? There's lots of books and stories about them. Glowworms. Has anyone ever heard of glowworms? Yeah, so glowworms are the larval stage of fireflies. So what's interesting about fireflies is they glow throughout all their life. When an egg is laid, the egg glows. When the egg hatches and there's a larva, the larva glows. Okay? We know exactly how the larvae feed. The larvae are predaceous. They eat slugs and worms and other soft-bodied insects. So the eggs are usually laid in moist areas in the forest, near rivers, streams, and swampy areas, under leaves, under bark. When they hatch, the larvae come out. I'll show you a picture of one. They are ugly. They are not pretty. They're not any kind of fuzzy, cute caterpillar. And they actually can detect the slime trail that's left behind by a slug. Have you ever noticed on the ground after a slug or a snail goes by, they leave that nice mucus trail on the ground? This time of year, if you look on your patio or out on your deck in the morning, you'll see some shiny trails. The glowworms actually can follow those, and when they get to the slug or the snail or a worm, an earthworm, they pierce it with, they have a long piercing structure on the front of them. They inject it with an anesthetic which immobilizes it, and then the contents liquefy and they suck out the inside. And frequently, many of them will gang up on one slug, so it's almost like a pack, and they'll kind of work together on one. And they're very vicious when they're little, but when they grow up, we don't even know what they eat. So it's kind of strange, but they're very interesting. So I'll show you a couple pictures of the glowworms. And yeah, this is there are a lot, again, 1,900 different types of fireflies in the world. So it looks kind of ancient, doesn't it? Almost prehistoric, kind of scaly, very segmented. Has anyone ever seen the glowworms? You have seen them? You have to kind of go looking for them, because they're not out flying around. And then here is a lovely picture of a glowworm feeding. Now you have to have a real strong stomach to look at this. This is right out of Alien, all right? Glowworm feeding on a slug.
You gotta look at this.
Did everyone already have dinner?
Yeah.
What do you think of that?
That's cool.
You can make a movie out of that.
But
Yep.
Yeah, big time ew. Kind of spooky, huh?
no, not gross.
Not gross. I tell ya, I can appreciate almost every kind of creepy crawly, and these give me the heebie-jeebies. So he's got its piercing mandible stuck inside, it's liquefying the contents, it's got its arms wrapped around it, it's just like sucking up that whole slug. Yeah, it's really gross.
It sounds gross, but it doesn't look good. No, if it's pink, orange stuff,
All right, so
I'm
obviously the one thing about fire